Pet owner customers have various documents that you establish as digital forms in their profiles. In this example system, let's go to Stephanie, who's a client, and she has three pets, two dogs and a cat. Each of them have their own forms. So does Stephanie, by the way. She has an initial profile, which is important, and she has additional documents that she's filled out. All of these are completely custom. So, going back one step, if I view Stephanie's profile, that is actually the first form, as you'll see in the next little while of this video. And I've actually configured some of these custom fields for her. Each of her pets, let's take Daisy for example. If I edit Daisy, Daisy has an initial profile as well. But if I just view Daisy's um, profile like this, Daisy has a bunch of documents. Daisy has a DHLPP vaccination. She has some consultation notes as a document, behavior notes as a document. There's a rabies vaccination. These are all completely custom for the system that we're working with here as a demo. And of course, if I try to update them, um, in the case of a rabies vaccination form, there's two date entries and a photo upload for the photo of the immunization, completely custom inputs. Some examples of other inputs: multiple choice, text boxes, data entries, number entries, file uploads, that sort of thing. So you can basically mock up whatever documents you want and then design the system to decide when they need to be filled out and whether they're enforced or not. So just to add a little bit more color on where these documents are actually set up, well, they're set up in a forms editor under clients forms. And when you go here, if you're just starting up with Easy Busy Pets, this will be completely empty except for this client's form and this pet's form. It's divided into two sections, for the client and that for the pet. And each pet will have all these documents and each client will have all these documents. And in my demo setup here, I have an extra home entry and security document, a service agreement document. And when you add a document for the client or add a document for a pet, for example, before you can even design what content is inside of that, you have to give a title for the form or document that you'll be implementing. You need to decide whether it's one of those documents that need to be filled out once and never updated again. The kind of things that, for example, let's say the pet owner needs to sign off on and they can't go back in and sign off on it again. There's visibility options because you might have 50 to 100 documents and 99 out of 100 of them will only be applicable in certain times. So you actually can attach forms to the pets or the clients respectively if it's not set as visible. Multiple submissions are documents that could be submitted multiple times. We'll have a different iteration of it, of course. So you'll have all the history of the previous ones that have been filled out. And so those are date stamped as well. Lastly, there's documents that absolutely have to be required in order to be booked. So when you check this off, then they being a pet owner, for example, they can't make a booking unless they've filled out this form. If they haven't filled it out yet, then before the booking continues, it'll force them to fill that out first. There's various expiry controls, and these have to do with, for example, the rabies vaccination document. It has an expiry field in it, and that expiry field will decide when the entire document will need to expire. So let's say a year from now, that value that's been filled out will trigger the form, whatever vaccination form in this case you're setting up to actually cancel out and need to be filled out again. So if I set up one of those documents, you can see submit once, visibility, multiple submissions, required expiry. The settings are showing for each of these documents. And I'll go into the editing of the fields in just a moment, but you can go back into the settings of what we just saw earlier. For example, looking at the rabies vaccination here, you can actually delete them. You can see all the submissions. So basically who submitted it and who did not submit it. And if I just go back to the forms through here, just to show you how you can, the rabies vaccination also has an export for all the rabies vaccinations that have ever been submitted, and you can choose a date range and export it accordingly. Now, if I were to edit the fields of the rabies vaccination, this is similar to what you saw for Daisy, the specific dog. This is, however, the editor mode. So you can add additional custom fields like numbers, drop down lists, checkboxes, multiple choice, and it'll add it right below um, the one that you just click the plus for. So as you can see, it showed up right below it. You can delete them, you can modify them, you can move them around, and so on and so forth. And once you're happy with your settings, you save it. Um, for those who are just starting up on Easy Busy Pets, just to reiterate, you're only going to see clients and pets at the beginning because you haven't added any of the other documents yet. So if I were to actually edit one of them, these happen to be the initial profiles of the clients and pets respectively as well. So you're going to just see the name box here. It's a good time if you ever get to this stage to add whatever custom fields are very, very typical to be in their profile. And I have some examples here of what I've used in my various demonstrations to pet owner businesses throughout the country. So these editors, the editor for all these forms, once everything's established, just check out one of the profiles to see whether it looks good. So I'm seeing a list of the pets here. If I view Daisy's profile, that's the same dog as we saw before. She has all those forms that you saw earlier, plus her initial profile form. And if I edit this, you'll see all the entries that you saw earlier in the editor mode of this form. So each dog will have this same profile to be filled out by the pet owner if they're signing up with their pet, or you if you're adding their pet to their system on your side.